Yo, so we got to talk about this PreSonus, Fender, Studio One Pro, Studio Pro. What is going on? So, okay, I gave my initial reaction the other day. And I wanted to follow this up because I've been following the drama over the last like week or what have you almost. And this really seems like Fender, PreSonus's, wherever, whoever you want to like ascribe to it. This seems like their Cracker Barrel Bud Light moment. Like, you don't really see these too many things happening like this in the audio world like this. So when you look at the video, the actual introducing video, look at the ratio on this. Like, these guys are getting ratioed. Like, the dislikes to likes is like actually crazy. But even if you don't look at the like dislike ratio, let's take a look at like the comment section. Let's look at the comment section. Let's see if we can find a positive comment here. Okay, long live Studio One. This is more like Fallen Studio 8 instead of like Fender Studio 8. Look, this almost my entire studio is primarily based in PreSonus products. In my very personal opinion, I don't like this name change. I'm not saying this because of functionality. I'm You can read it there. It's a bad decision for the company to change the name of such a good product. For me, this is the beginning of the end for PreSonus. I too have a lot of PreSonus gear. I got a ton of it. Like, I have the Studio Live. With the audio from this video is actually being recorded on a Studio Live 16R. You know what I mean? I use PreSonus mics for my podcast. Like, I'll tell a really personal story about PreSonus in a little bit. Just stay tuned to the end. I got a really heart like ringing story about this of why I love PreSonus so much. And there's a specific reason, but I'll tell you guys later. But let's keep looking at this. Look at this. Love the doll, hate the name change. It will forever. It will be Studio One forever. Um, the word defender just got a new mender, meaning defender that name. That's hilarious. The own time and guitar logo attached to a sophisticated software is weird. No one asked for this. Look at this. Not interested. Wait, they just what? Wait, did they just can Studio One? This is a big no for me. Like, look at it. I want you guys, and you can feel free to pause. I'm not gonna read any more of these. But look at this. I've fallen in love with Studio One. Look at this. Installing Luma. Look at these comment sections. Look at this. There is not a single solitary positive comment. Look at this. Switching back to Cubase. Now I must learn Ableton. Like, there's no positive this. But I found even something even crazier. Like, if you go back here, check this out. If I go to Fender's page and then I go to um this video, look at this
Hey
one.
everyone, Gregor here, and
Greg, gotta love Gregor. Uh, welcome to Fender Studio Pro, formerly known as Studio One, Fender Studio. Look at the ratio on this. It's crazy. 2.1K dislikes. What in the world? And I'm pretty sure that, look at this, 1,400 comments. Let's see. Look at this. Literally all they had to do was name it Studio One Pro by Fender. Nobody would have been upset with that. Nobody, listen, I don't think nobody's upset with the fact that Fender bought it. We all know that Fender bought PreSonus back in like 21, 22 or what have you. But nobody's upset at the fact of Fender. Nobody hates Fender like that. But what we do hate is when you mess with the brand, when you mess with the loyalty that we have to this brand. So again, that personal story for me, like 2010-ish, right around the time that PreSonus was really before even Studio, I got into Studio One. I fell in love with PreSonus and got into Studio One a few years after that because my father, God rest his soul, that just passed last year. My father, I started a studio in my hometown, and my father said, "I want to invest in you. I believe in you. And that's a big thing because my dad initially, when I was trying to do music full time, he always discouraged me and told me, "Baby, you need to get a real job." He tried to get me to get real jobs. He tried to get me to go to school. So much like like psychology there to unpack. But, I was the consummate kid growing up that they were saying, get a real job. Right. And so when I got ready to start my studio, like open up an actual studio, and I told my dad I was going to do this, I was going to open up a studio and I was going to continue to pursue music full time. He said, let me invest in you. And he bought me a brand new PreSonus 1601, whatever the 16 channel PreSonus mixer that could double as a live mixer, and it could be a studio interface. At the time, 2010, 11 ish, around in that time frame, like that was unheard of. Like maybe 12, maybe it was. Anyway, over almost about 15 years ago. In that day and time, like you didn't have like mixers that were also audio interfaces. And if it was, they weren't like, they were either super expensive or they weren't. So I fell in love with that mixer. And then in turn, that led me down the pipeline into Studio One, becoming my main DAW that I use for pretty much primarily for like a decade. And so there's a lot of history there in Studio One, and I still swear by it. It's still my favorite like DAW of all of them. I use them all because I'm a software developer for audio plugins, so I have to use them all. I have to be abreast in all of the different ones. But if I had to just pick one, like throw a dart and just hit the target, it would be Studio One because I love the functionality of what it adds. You changing that name, changing that chemistry, changing what people love, that's not smart. That's just not smart. But it's crazy to look at. Somebody said, "What am I supposed to do with this Studio One tattoo?" Look at, I mean, I know he doesn't, but nobody likes this. Nobody asked for this. Nobody wants this. Nobody's excited about this. But let's keep it rolling. I found a couple of other reactions that were kind of interesting. Let me go to this one. This is Joe Gilder. This is the guy that worked for PreSonus for well over a decade, I think he says in this video. I'm gonna link the full video below so you can kind of check it out. But let's take a listen to what he's got to say about this. So he works for PreSonus and still wearing, he's got the Fender hat on. So that's gonna tell you a little bit something, but let's just see what he has to say. Ayo, so I was editing this video and I had a thought and I was like, let me jump in and check this to make sure that I'm correct. But this is really, really crazy. Let me show you this real quick. It looks like that over 77% of you guys that watch this channel are actually not subscribed. That's kind of wild, right? That's kind of wild. So check this out. If you could do me a quick favor and just hit the like button and the subscribe button while you're at it, because it doesn't cost you anything, but it means everything to me. All right, that's all I got. Let me get you back to the video.
Things that have stayed the same. Let me tell you a little bit about my thoughts on the matter. So when Fender first acquired PreSonus, a part of me, like most people probably, was a little nervous. I am in addition to being a content creator, I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. It's just me and my wife running this company. And I've studied a lot of marketing, and there's been a lot of, I've developed a bias probably against really big companies, really big corporations. Kind of the phrase of, oh, it's a big dumb company that's not going to know how to run a company or how to engage with customers or how to do marketing. Those were my biases going in, thinking, all right, here comes a bunch of suits going to try to run a music-based company. From the beginning, I was pleasantly surprised. Just about everyone I've met, and I've been in rooms with like the CEO and all the VPs and senior VPs, they're almost every one of them is a killer musician. A lot of them are guitar players, which makes sense. There's some great hip hop artists on the staff. It's a staff full of musicians who love music, and like the guy who developed, the guy who's kind of head over the whole PreSonus thing right now at Fender can shred on guitar. So it blew some of my conceptions of, oh, it's just a bunch of suits. It was a bunch of dudes in jeans who love guitar, and Fender as a company made instruments and made amps, but then it kind of stopped there. So if I loved Fender products, had a guitar, had an amp, I could buy more guitars and more amps, but I couldn't continue down the signal flow using Fender products. I had to go somewhere else. So in my mind, it actually made a lot of sense, because now you can play their stuff live, you can play it in the studio, but then you can also plug it into a Fender interface, into Fender software, which is cool. I think that's pretty cool. So they came along, and a lot of people were freaked out, and I understand the freak out about a big change. They're going to ruin everything. That certainly was on everyone's mind. I have been pleasantly surprised, because while everyone said the sky is falling, the world is ending, this is the end, that has not been the case. That has been categorically not true. There are things that Fender has done that people don't like. They added a subscription option that we actually technically added that before Fender came along, but the subscription model. So you could subscribe to Studio One for whatever the current price is. I think it's around $19 a month or something like that, versus paying upfront for a license to own the software. People got mad about that. You want to get mad about it, that's fine. But they never took away the ability to just purchase it. That's always been there, and it still is there. So that's still true. But I understand that like things, the people who are maybe more MIDI based are concerned that it's going in the moving towards guitar players. I understand, but the features you love are still there. There's actually a lot of new features that Gregor covers on his videos. There's a lot of updates to the way like impact works. It's completely changed. So they're very much not wanting to alienate a core group of the users, which is like electronic musicians, but also they want to create something that a bunch of guitar players will look at and say, well, if Fender made that, I might give it a try. So for me,
So that's it. That's the core point right there. I'll stop there, and I'll link his full video down in the description so you guys can watch the full thing. So I don't like unpack the entire thing here. But I thought this was an interesting point because as he's saying that like as a MIDI musician, like I am not a guitar player. I don't play guitar. I don't do anything with guitar. I am a producer. I record a lot of live music. I do a lot of gospel arranging, composing, those type things. And so Studio One has been my go-to for a lot of that. And I'm not interested in any of the guitar stuff. I'm not interested in like, this is the problem is brand association. You know what I mean? When I say Akai and I say MPC, if I say MPC, when you see this and you see the name Akai on here, in your mind, you associate this with beat makers. You associate this with a producer that plays keys, you know, if this is a particular one, but if you're talking about a specific, like the MPC, beat makers, Jay Dilla, Kanye, you think a beat maker, you think that type of person, that type of thing. When you say Fender, boys and girls, you think of guitar. You do not think of keys or playing or any of that. Fender is a guitar company. That's what they are. That's what they branded themselves in as, and that's what they shall be. As the type of producer that I am, I don't associate myself with Fender as a guitar player. I just don't. There's nothing wrong with the company. It's a great company, long-standing brand, but they are a guitar company. I have no interest in being associated with a guitar company because I don't play guitar. So I'm not going to go to my friends. I'm not going to go to my homeboys. I'm not going to go to anyone that's in my sphere and talk about Fender Studio Pro. I'm just not going to do it. And so this is probably the point where I tap out on PreSonus because it doesn't, well, no, it's not PreSonus anymore. It's Fender. Still trying to get used to that. This is the point where I tap out. And you're talking about 15 years of brand loyalty out the window because you decided to change the entire flow of it. You know what I'm saying? And because you want to build out your ecosystem, you want to build out what you're doing and make it into the ultimate thing that you want for it to be and connect and change all of the inner. Like, what's going to happen with the Studio Live? I love the Studio Live. What's going to happen with it? It's going to become the Fender Studio Live. Now my mixer is a guitar mixer. You see what I'm saying? Like, I get the interface thing, I guess. I love the audio box. Audio box was one of my first portable interfaces. But you just screwed it all up by like burning down the the PreSonus name that people love. And this might be your Cracker Barrel moment. This might be your Bud Light. Like, I don't understand why brands don't study like what made them think that this was going to go over well. I know they knew it wasn't going to go over well. And I don't know what they thought in the sense of that this was going to do well. People are just going to love it. You know what I'm saying? And then you have guys like Gregor, and I love these guys. I've talked to them at NAMM. They're really cool people. Joe Gilder, I love Joe because he he's been my go-to for like Studio One tutorials over the year. But Joe, as he self-admitted, you know, he's a PreSonus employee. And what do we see right here in his video? Nothing but guitars. And I think even in this video, he shows a track he's doing where he recorded a bunch of guitars. So somebody like him, because he plays guitar, the name change doesn't carry much weight with him. And I know he said he understands in the video, so he empathizes with it. So I appreciate that. But at the same time, being the guy on this side of it, it's this ain't it, bro. It's just not it. And this is the point where I probably just lock in with Logic and Pro Tools and Ableton and keep, you know, and just maybe I'll use Studio One. I can't even call it Studio One anymore. Studio Pro, whatever you want to call it now, as um something that I need it for. Maybe when I get ready to, I don't know, record with my Studio Live or something. I really don't know. And it really kind of pisses people like me off because it's like, yo, like don't mess with my brand. Like in music, they bought Moog. In Music Brands owns Moog. They actually own a Kai. They had enough like sense in their brain not to call this the In Music MPK Mini. They had enough sense when they dropped the Moog Messenger not to call it the In Music Messenger and to rename a company that people love for the sake of trying to win over more guitar players. Like, I mean, win over more people. Like, so Fender did that. Fender is changing the entire branding of PreSonus in an attempt to win over more guitar players. So they're going to piss off like all of their other people that have rocked with them for the last 15 years in order to try to get more guitar players into recording in Studio Pro. So I don't know. I know this is a rant, but I think this needs to be studied. Like these comment sections, I didn't even get to play this one, but I'll link this video below. It's from Barry Johns. He had a really fire take. I'll link his video below because it was a good take. It pretty much shared the same sentiment that I did. Check that video out. And there's a bunch of other people that are just spitting out like, yo, like, what are y'all doing? Like, but you can go to the videos themselves. This ratio, this 21K dislikes. What in the world? Y'all want to thank you for making it to the end of this video. First of all, thank you for watching to the end. If you made it to the end, make sure you hit the like button, hit the share button, drop a comment, and let me know what you think about everything that I've talked about. And make sure you check out the Patreon link down below. Hop over there for some exclusive content. All right, I'll talk to you guys on the next one. I'm out. Holla at your boy.